The idea of someone no-foot snatching 200 kilos for a double is almost unfathomable. A more challenging version of an already exceedingly technically demanding skill, the snatch, done at incredible weights, twice, to show without doubt that luck was not involved. For those who don't know, a no-foot snatch is just a regular snatch but with no foot movement. Now, the heels are allowed to come up off the ground, but the toes can't. The basic rule is that the weightlifter can't let their feet come up off the ground entirely, and then, as a result, end up landing in a slightly more advantageous catch position. And there are a few reasons why you might do a no-foot lift, and more importantly, what it helps with your technique. You have to pull the bar straighter than you could normally get away with, because of course you can't jump slightly forwards or backwards to save a pull that's got any excess forward or backwards momentum, because your feet will move. You also have to use your upper body to pull under quicker, because you can't finish with peak vertical velocity, and so the bar isn't going to go as high as it normally would with the weight you're lifting. And this then helps you feel more connected with the barbell throughout the entire turnover, as you can't passively drop under. There's an active, deliberate movement with your upper body. All of this leads to the fact that you have to finish the pull with lower peak force and lower velocity than you normally would, and with a more perfect bar path, meaning that the margin for error is even smaller. So, it's a snatch. It's just harder. In Lasha's case, I guess we can assume that he and coach Asanidze believe that his full snatch, a week after this competition, it being 225 kilos, would be augmented by at least one of these qualities seeing improvement. I've heard it described by coaches as a self-correcting exercise, in that it exposes and corrects issues just by you performing it. If you jump forwards, you'll miss. If you loop the bar, you'll miss. If you're slow under or lose connection with the bar as you pull under, you'll miss. And it's pretty humbling because you'll miss at light weights. No matter how strong you are, if you're one of those people that jumps forwards or backwards half a foot every lift, then you're going to miss a no-foot snatch with an empty barbell unless you correct for that error. If you come onto your toes early, the no-foot will help, or if you loop or are slow under, it will also help. It's a very useful exercise for many specific technical faults. The fact, therefore, that we can see Lasha perform a no-foot snatch with 200 kilos for a double not only is testament to his strength, I mean, no one else is doubling 200 kilos in any variation, but then the fact that it's at 89% of his best snatch shows how technically perfect his snatch is. That's why the last time we saw him miss a snatch was 4 years ago in 2018, and before that it was in 2015. It's because he puts the bar in the right spot every time. Lasha's technical abilities within his strength limits are sky high. And how many people can double 89% no foot? And assuming he can single 210 kilos with a no foot snatch, which, based on his first repetition, it looks as though he can, that's over 93%. That's not easy to do, especially when you were managing and trying to control as much force as he has access to. You can actually see on his second repetition at 200 kilos that he's pulling as fast as he can under with his upper body, as he could barely, and he only just gets himself under. The no-foot snatch highlights and makes known what it is about your lift that is a limiting factor. For Lasha, as we all know, it's not the speed of the bar off the floor or the height of the pull. So let's limit those things. Let's reduce his ability to use speed off the floor and bar height as crutches, and let's promote the other factors that are his limiters: bar path and turnover speed. And he's done that now to such an extent with this favourite exercise of his, the no-foot snatch, that he's almost unmissable in the lift. Our weightlifting AI is able to work out your technical weaknesses in the same way that something like the no-foot snatch might, building up a model of your snatch by evaluating multiple ratios between each lift to determine what phases of your technique are strong and weak. We then know whether an exercise like the no-foot snatch is going to be beneficial for you or not, and allocate correct levels of volume and intensity to you. For me, for example, No-foot snatches helped me tremendously during years 3 and 4 of my weightlifting journey, as I developed a huge issue with jumping back with every lift, which you can get away with at most weights, but of course I'd end up missing forwards at 95% plus lifts when I really should have been making them. The height and speed was all in the right place, it's just that I wasn't, and the no-foot snatch sorted out my pull and made me feel more connected to the lift. If you're interested in being involved in weightlifting.ai from Weightlifting House and Max Zeta, the most individual responsive programming out there, then head to the link below or just go to weightlifting.ai. With this session being just 4 days out, this was his final moderately heavy session. Up to 89% in the snatch and then 220 kilos in the clean and jerk, or 81% of his 270 kilo personal record. And that tends to be somewhat typical for a lot of weightlifters. Essentially, his final competition backroom warm-up weight in the snatch before coming out to his opener, and then his penultimate competition backroom warm-up weight in the clean and jerk, because he actually did 240 kilos in the backroom on competition day. One of the things with Lasha ever since he first hit 478 kilos in the total is that nobody really thought he was going to be able to beat that. And then he hit 484. And everyone said, okay, he's gone beyond our expectations, that's got to be it. And then he did 488 kilos, and again, we all said, that's it, it's not possible that he does any more. And then at the World Championships, 4 days after this session, he did 492 kilos. Now to me, if a few years ago someone had told me that he would do 492 kilos, I would then say the same thing, which is, he's not going to be able to go beyond that, it's just impossible. These are numbers that we've been speaking about for decades. It's unlikely that he's ever going to go beyond them. But I think the safest bet right now is to just assume that he will, because every time he competes, he does that. Now, whether he does that at the next competition that he competes at, the European Championships in Albania in May, I don't know, but I would actually refrain from betting against him beating all of these numbers again at some point in his career, whether that's later this year at the World Championships or by the next Olympic Games in Paris. It seemed very much like 500 kilos was a joke, something exciting to get us rallied around, but certainly not a likely tangible feat of strength that we might see. But every time I watch a competition back or I go through my training footage as I've done for this session, it just seems more and more inevitable that this 500 kilos is going to happen. 478 to 492 was a huge jump. There's only 8 kilos left. At this point, I think I would almost be surprised if he doesn't do it. If you want early access to Weightlifting AI, the most advanced weightlifting programming in the world, head to the link below. Weightlifting.ai adds weight when you are lifting well and drops you down when you feel fatigued. It selects the correct exercises for you and optimizes your volumes and intensities. Unless you have a personal coach, nothing is going to compete with Weightlifting AI.